Hello everybody, welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Terry Stiles, happy to sit next to my partner Jim Hughes.
Happy to sit next to you.
And in this week's news, more village multifamily use, council talks trash, and students wins the best of show. All that and more, the Oxford News begins right now. Green for Life environmental trash haulers will soon turn over the village pickup to Priority Waste, and the Village Council made it official last week. Village Manager Joe Medor said while the village contract with GFL is still in place, there is an assignment clause allowing the village to move the contract to Priority. Earlier this month, the Ontario-based company sold 73 of their municipal contracts to Clinton Township-based Priority, which will be completed on July 1st. Jim?
And the Village of Oxford Planning Commission made recommendations to the council to approve conditional rezoning from single-family residential use to multifamily on a piece of property known as the Washington Triangle. A parcel of the Mechanic and Minnetonka Drive. Well, multiple commission members said the recommendation does not mean developments are approved. Planning Commission Chair Jonathan Nold said the recommendation is the best fence to jump over before multifamily construction can even begin. It is the council that will make the ultimate decision to move forward with the multi-zoning. One long-time resident protested the recommendation, saying that the rezoning will decrease the value of the village residential property. Others lamented trees that will be cut, traffic increase, and greed, as well as motivation to alter the zoning in a residential neighborhood. If Village Council approved, the next step will be for a site plan review and approval, which will need to be comply with the existing zoning ordinance standards. Plans call for multiple townhouses, 23 feet tall with 4 two-bedroom units per building. The next Village Council meeting is in July 9th to be exact, at 7 o'clock. The reason for the increase in the countywide system, repairs and maintenance projects. Terry.
In more village news, the council approved the first reading of a proposed $9 water and sewer rate increase. Village Manager Joe Medor said the village is proposing a flat $4 sewer rate increase and a $5 water rate increase. The nearly $4 charge for water and the $1.75 charge for sewer for every 1,000 gallons will remain the same. The second reading will be next month, according to Medor. The last rate increase was 2014. Jim.
And in school news last week, parents, students got a chance to share an afternoon with the Oxford Community Schools Superintendent, Dr. Tanya Milligan. Oxford Elementary School staff hosted the meet and greet at the cafeteria before heading over to the Frosty Boy to enjoy and introduce Dr. Milligan with the local Frosty treats. The doctor is not only leaving her old position as superintendent from Columbus City Schools, but it's also leaving her Ohio home. According to the board president, Dr. Erin Reese, chosen for her strength, not only as an educational leader, but also someone who, in her previous role as an educator, can demonstrate empathy while promoting academic achievement. The doctor also displayed herself as a role model in resilience and accountability, which the district considers an asset to students. The district will see its new superintendent at her desk by July 1st.
In other school news, Oxford sophomore Blake Myers won Best of Show at the 56th Michigan Digital Arts Film and Television Film Festival. Additionally, he was awarded the John Prusak Visionary Award for Best Documentary. It was his fascination with 92-year-old Hispanic artist Nora Chapa Mendoza that inspired his award-winning documentary. His lifelong love of art attracted Myers to Mendoza, as she had recently received the Kresge Eminent Artist Award, which honors artists for their work and professional achievements in the arts. A lover of film work, Myers said he decided to make a documentary about her career. He filmed the entire piece on his cell phone, learned to edit, and eventually made the piece, which he calls amazing, and hopes to make a full-scale film of it. Congratulations, Blake. Jim?
Addison Oaks County Park is going solar. The county park in Addison Township has launched a stellar new attraction, a solar system trail. This trail, along with Buell Lake Loop, will provide fascinating insights into space while models of the solar system for both campers and day-use visitors year-round. The models will demonstrate the size of planets and will represent the solar system layout, with the size of the sun in their scaled locations along the trail. The park offers special nighttime sky observation events, and the Oakland Astronomy Club meets there regularly, so to bring your telescope and enjoy the program. Sounds like a nice way to enjoy the outer space. Terry.
In other Oakland County news, the CEO, Carlos Tavares of Stellantis, suggested last week that there is a possibility of considerable job layoffs for workers, especially at the Auburn Hills office tower. Tavares said that an EV-first strategy for the cost-cutting to compete globally with China automakers by looking to cut 30% of Stellantis costs. Auto analyst John McElroy said Tavares is going after the company with an axe right now, and the move will send a massive shockwave through the industry, adding the job loss is likely to be significant. Up until the thousands saying the old Chrysler Tower building will be up first for sale, and engineering will be outsourced to countries like Turkey and Morocco, as Stellantis is no longer an American company. Jim?
Oxford resident David Fazzini has always dreamed of creating original music, and in August that dream will become a reality at the Meadowbrook Music Theater. Fazzini said he was dabbed with composing music his whole life, spending a lifetime being as close to the stage as possible, and with 25 years of teaching and directing composing music theater at the Pontiac Notre Dame Prep, the encounter with Mitch Carter led to the pair to create the story and the lyrics while Fazzini composed the music. After 3 years, the final product is based on the short story by Nathaniel Hawthorne's story of a witch who builds a scarecrow to protect her garden and brings it to life with the magic of the pipes. Fazzini said the pair added to the story, bringing it life, a love story in the end. He calls it a dramatic fairy tale, which features a 15-piece classical-sounding orchestra, a cast of 45 mostly associated with the Notre Dame Prep. The musical, called Alice, will be performed at Meadowbrook Theater, 7:30 on August 23rd and 24th, at 2 p.m. on August 25th. It might be a great idea to enjoy the night. Congratulations to him and his endeavors. Sticking with me in our Behind the Lens segment, now in our Behind the Lens segment, to South Washington. As much as we seem to think things are and stay the same, from the Northeast Historical Museum in Oxford, the lens of a few showing how one corner of the world has changed with the times. To South Washington has changed from a local department store to a place where people purchase cards for birthdays, weddings, and even sad occasions. Also, it was a place to where technology met old school, with the sales of cell phones and electronic gear. The stories over the years shared can only be imagined. The joy of a graduation, wedding, birthday, and as mentioned before, a hug with the purchase of a sympathy card. This one building has housed many residents over the years, and through the magic of time and 5 shots, we share that today and are Behind the Lens. Good stuff there.
I remember most of those literations of that building. Isn't
I know.
that something?
I find it amazing that the Oxford Museum is finding
Yeah.
different buildings and what they were and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the first picture, if you'll notice, you can literally see the church in the background.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We've changed a bit in Oxford, haven't we?
Oh yeah, definitely a great place. I
Yep,
found it kind of
sure
a
is.
little amazing thing with our behind the lens.
Yeah.
Coming up in our last story, a smooth flow of traffic using the zipper merge. Terry Stiles will break that down. Dave Kenny's up next. He has Auto Talk Science in the News. You are watching Oxford News This Week right here on Oxford Community Television.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from Automotive News, and they're all recalls. In our first story, Volkswagen Group is recalling over 271,000 vehicles in the U.S. over concerns that the front passenger airbags might not deploy when the seat is activated. The recall covers certain 2021 to 24 Atlases and 2020 to 2024 Atlas Cross Sport vehicles. A malfunction with the passenger occupant detection system could cause the airbags to deactivate in affected vehicles when a passenger is present, increasing the risk of injury if there were to be a crash, NHTSA said in its recall report made public on June 26th. Volkswagen will replace the passenger occupant detection system sensor mat as a remedy. Volkswagen has had 9 recalls this year, affecting over 641,000 vehicles, according to data from NHTSA. Owner letters will be mailed out starting August 16th. And over at Tesla has issued 2 recalls of its 2024 Cybertruck because of defects in the front windshield wiper and the trunk body trim. The front windshield wiper motor may stop functioning in over 11,000 affected vehicles, increasing the risk of a crash, NHTSA said in a recall report on June 25th. Tesla will replace the windshield wiper motor. Tesla will also recall 11,383 Cybertrucks because of a detachment risk in the trunk bed trim, NHTSA said in another report on June 25th. Axiom Plastics is the part supplier, according to the report, and Tesla will replace or rework the applique. Tesla generated 8 recalls this year, affecting about 2.5 million vehicles, according to data from NHTSA. Owner notification letters for both recalls will be sent out on August 18th. And finally, over at Ford Motor Company is recalling over 552,000 F-150s in the U.S. because of an issue with the powertrain control module that could unintentionally downshift the vehicle into first gear. The recall covers 2014 Ford F-150s. Affected vehicles may lose signal to the powertrain control module, which could result in an unintended downshift into first gear. An abrupt downshift could lead to a loss of vehicle control, increasing the risk of a crash, NHTSA said in its recall report on June 25th. A Ford spokesman said there have been 2 reported injuries as a result of the defect. Ford said it is aware of 300 warranty reports, 96 field reports, and 124 complaints related to the defect. Ford was its own supplier, the report said. Ford will update affected vehicles' powertrain control modules. The spokesman said the automaker expects the remedy to be available by the 3rd quarter. Before customers experience a downshift to first gear, the malfunction indicator light, or MIL, may illuminate, the spokesman said in a statement. In some cases, the output shaft signal could recover while driving and the vehicle will resume normal function. In other cases, the vehicle may need to be stopped and restarted to regain normal transmission operation. Owner notification letters will be mailed out starting July 1st. Whew. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
Back with you on Oxford News this week, Oxford Sports. In senior softball this past week, saw real close games between the senior softball Clarkston Auto Body and the Lake Orion Lakers. They took on your Oxford Health Quest and 24th Street Tavern team. Unfortunately, Oxford came up on the short end of the game, stick on both of the games. They saw losses, but both teams were rallying back and forth. Great softball on Monday mornings. Come on out to the park and enjoy some of it yourself. On our other story, Oxford Athletics Class of 2024 Hall of Fame inductees. It was a great excitement for the Oxford Athletics Hall of Fame Class of 2024 to be announced. 6 individuals were inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Class of 2024 who will have a lasting impact on Oxford athletic programs during their time here in Oxford. Our inductees this year: Jeff Bull, coach; Matt Green, student athlete; Ron Kelso, a special contributor to sports; J.R. Lackner, who goes in as a coach. He also is a announcer at the football games; Carl Reeves, longtime student athlete; and Kyle Rowley, student athlete. The 6 impressive individuals will be officially inducted into the Oxford Athletics Hall of Fame on Friday, September 20th, during the Oxford versus Lake Orion varsity football game, where a special ceremony will take place at the halftime. Congratulations to all 6 who have been enshrined in the Oxford Athletics Hall of Fame forever. Go Wildcats. That wraps it up in sports. Stay tuned this weekend. USPBL baseball from the Jimmy John Stadium over near Mount Clemens. You might want to stay tuned for that. We have a series of baseball games that we do broadcast here on OCTV. Coming back, our last story with Terry Stiles, and Dave Kenny has another segment. You're watching Oxford News This Week.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from New Scientist. In our first story, China's Chang'e 6 spacecraft has returned to Earth, bringing back the first chunks of space rock from the far side of the moon. The capsule touched down in Inner Mongolia in China on June 25th after separating from an orbiting container 5,000 kilometers above the Atlantic Ocean at about 1:20 p.m. local time there. The sample, which should contain about 2 kilograms of material from the moon, then floated down for the last 10 kilometers using parachutes. It landed at 2:07 p.m. before being collected by scientists from the China National Space Administration. The difficulty of landing on the moon's far side, which permanently faces away from Earth and so has no direct communications link, had meant that the region's surface was unexplored until the Chinese spacecraft landed at the start of the month. Its landing and collection maneuvers relied heavily on autonomous processes and robotic tools, although Chinese engineers could send messages to the spacecraft through a relay satellite which launched in March this year and is still in orbit around the moon. The sample contains material from the surface and from 2 meters underground, which Chang'e 6 drilled and scooped at its landing site in the Apollo crater, itself situated in the larger South Pole Aitken Basin. Scientists hope that this material will explain how and when these basins formed which could allow us to understand the origin of other similar lunar craters. The rock may also indicate the quantity of water ice in the region, which could be a vital resource for crewed missions that China hopes to send to the moon by 2030. Before China undertakes a crewed mission, it will send a further 2 spacecraft, Chang'e 7 and Chang'e 8, to the moon's south pole to gather information on locations for a possible base there called the International Lunar Research Station. China is co-leading this mission along with Russia's space agency Roscosmos. And in our next story, this stunning but stinky bloom of a corpse flower unfurled on June 18th at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew in London, but was around briefly. They tend to last between just 24 and 36 hours. The corpse flower, Amorphophallus titanium, also called the Titan arum, is so named because the stench of rotting flesh can emanate from it so powerfully that it travels for hundreds of meters. The knockout smell is tailored to attract unusual pollinators like flesh flies and carrion beetles to the short-lived bloom, and the odor must be strong enough to do its job at the narrow time window because the plant might not flower for another many years. Technically, the bloom, which can reach 3 meters high, isn't a single flower, but many. The inner flower spike, or spadix, looks like a yellow obelisk, and it emerges from a pleated purple collar called the spathe. An inflorescence, or cluster of flowers, is protected between the spadix and the spathe. The rare plants are endemic to the rainforest of Sumatra, Indonesia, but many botanical gardens around the world cultivate them both for their beauty and for the crowds they draw when they flower. The first time one is known to have flowered outside Sumatra was at Kew in 1889. If you happen to see and smell one, the odor might not be what you expect. It can vary through the short life of the bloom, and aside from rotting meat, could smell like the equally delightful excrement or worm trash. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny.
Hi, I'm Peyton Manning, and I'm partnering with the American Red Cross this year to tackle blood shortages. Giving blood's important because every 2 seconds, someone actually needs blood, and unfortunately, only like 3% of the U.S. population donates. So we have to step up to give and to make sure there's plenty of blood available for those in need. Visit redcrossblood.org to get in the game and make an appointment to give.
In our last story, the zipper method. Have you tried it yet? And when it doesn't work, it's kind of like getting your clothes caught in the zipper when you're trying to zip up your jacket. But MDOT has a few simple tips for us to save time and reduce frustration in heavy traffic construction zones. Whether during your daily commute or a summer vacation drive across the state, MDOT is asking drivers to use the zipper method to merge from closed traffic lanes. There's been much debate on social media to zip or not zip. MDOT says the quickest, most efficient way to merge is the zipper method, which vehicles run in parallel until one lane physically narrows. Then one car at a time should merge into the flowing lane, taking turns much like a four-way stop, which a lot of people haven't mastered yet. In an increased number of states, including Michigan, are encouraging drivers to use this method of merging. Some states have even created flashing signs showing how to and where to merge. The Michigan State Police Department has long endorsed it as well. If only either all drivers would use the method or none, as of yet, judging from traffic jamming up on I-75, just like some fail that four-way stop, not all drivers either know the zipper rule or do not prescribe to the idea. It's a good idea to brush up on traffic rules while we are all trying to negotiate those ugly orange barrels. Jim?
Well, I'm the guy that used to get over there early, so I'm telling you, I learned something today myself. I'm going to try to go to the end. I'm going to give it a go. I'm not saying it's going to work all the time. I always think I was helping people out by going over early.
Yeah,
But
well,
I'm not
me too.
helping.
Well, you would if there was a law
Yeah.
that made us zipper merge.
Oh.
That's one thing.
Right.
But how many times have you seen everybody sitting in this lane while one guy zooming up going, I'm going to get up ahead of everybody? Even truck drivers will half and half just to stop that from happening because it's not working as is. It's not zippering.
And just to throw something in the mix, now we're adding roundabouts.
Don't get me started.
My
Don't get me started.
My mom is so upset about the roundabout at
too.
Clarkson and Baldwin.
I am too.
I mean, Baldwin is pretty, I mean, you cannot speed on Baldwin. And not that you would want to, but with all the roundabouts there.
Right.
But
And I've maintained this, everybody that lives off of Baldwin and they have to enter onto Baldwin to go anywhere, they can't get out of their driveway. They can't get out of the roads
Right.
because there's no break in traffic anymore. It's terrible.
do you want,
I think it's
do you
a
want to
bad
see
idea.
the smallest roundabout in the whole county?
It's on Conklin and
Flint.
yeah,
The one at
Flint
Lake Orion.
and Miller. Yeah,
And some trucks don't even
they
make
drive
it.
right over
yeah,
it.
exactly. It's like a
there
bump.
was no reason for that one
My
except
mom
for
and dad, I take them down there to their appointments.
And they complain.
They do not like that one.
Yeah.
And then there's also one down there, but down by where the
Conklin
three,
and
which
Orion.
that one makes a little more sense to me.
Well, it's at Stony and
Yeah,
Orion, and
yeah.
people do say that it was difficult, but
Yeah.
there's not that much traffic out on Stony Road.
Right.
There's very few houses out there. There was no, but I think Orion Township had extra money.
Now, what
don't
I
know.
want to know, this is the last part of we're going to belabor, and then we're going to ask you what you've been listening to,
Oh.
is that with all these cars that are supposed to drive themselves, do they know how to do roundabouts? You know?
Ooh, I don't know. I'll never know because I'm never going to have one of those cars.
What are we listening to in the car this week?
It's called The Giver of Stars, and I've talked about this before, the library app. I
Right.
just went through to try to find an audiobook that was available the minute I was out of audiobooks, and that one looked good, and it's fascinating. It's set in the 1930s in the Appalachians,
Oh, wow.
in Kentucky,
Ooh.
and how this group of women started started taking books to people up in the mountains.
Oh, wow.
It's fascinating, and it's a 12-hour book. Usually my books are like 6 hours, so I'm really enjoying
You're
it.
looking for some traffic jams, what you're looking for.
I am. I wouldn't mind sitting in the left lane when somebody's zooming beside me.
Well, I guess we
Hard
talked
to
a lot
say
about
that.
traffic and everything in between there. Again, I hope you guys this is obviously the week of the 4th of July. I hope you have a safe 4th of July.
Yeah.
Definitely would like
Yes,
to thank you in the upcoming holiday.
Yeah.
You're going to have to...
Move us on. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
keeper of the
She's the keeper.
teleprompter.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not very good at that on this side. You notice that we
OCTV.
flipped a little bit.
Oh, you want to go ahead? You do it today.
Okay, OCTV can be viewed on Spectrum, Charter Channel 191, and Channel 99 for AT&T UVerse. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Roku, and Fire Stick apps as well. If you have a show idea that you'd like to volunteer at OCTV, give us a call at 248-628-9658. A very special thank Thanks to poor Kyle. He's the producer and director, and we really give him a rough way to go. Our news writer, Allison Miller, program director or programmer, Connie Miller, and Jim Hughes, my co-host, sitting at the news. I'm Terry Stiles, hoping you have a safe holiday weekend, and we invite you back next time when we take a look at Oxford News This Week.
Have a great week. Enjoy your 4th, everyone.